Game. I'm Bajo.
And I'm Hex.
And a pretty exciting way to kick off the episode this week, Hex. Nintendo have revealed that their next console, codenamed the NX, is going to be called the Nintendo Switch, and it's coming out in March next year.
Yeah, it's a pretty slick-looking handheld / console. What did you think of the reveal?
Well, there were no kids in the trailer was the first thing I thought. These were all like, late 20s professionals, all very beautiful. Who are they marketing this to?
It's very hip, very urban, wasn't it?
Yeah.
My favorite thing about it was that they have these little, sort of detachable controllers, which they're calling Joy-Cons. And when they had someone be all like, hey, come to my party, bring your console, we can all play. And then you had a bunch of adults playing on these tiny little things like giants.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it is going to be a portable device. That's the really interesting thing about it. I'm really excited about that. It's a different looking kind of console. We've never seen something like this. What they're trying to do is make a console that you can plug into your TV really simply and then just pick up and take somewhere and have the same experience portable. But is it going to work?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, they're not trying to compete graphically with current gen consoles, which I think is interesting. It's kind of like Nintendo, a sort of hard line being like, we don't need to compete.
Yeah. It uses an NVIDIA chip, and there's speculation that power-wise, it's going to sit somewhere between, say, an Xbox 360 and an Xbox One, like somewhere in the middle there.
They've mentioned Skyrim Remastered, which is interesting.
Yeah.
NBA 2K17, I think, as well.
I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah, I mean, they haven't said officially they're absolutely going to be on there, but they're currently on the table.
Yeah.
And I think that's smart because, there were a lot of games that were announced for the Wii U back in the day that never ended up making it on there.
Yeah, I don't think we'll see those.
Really?
Well, I'm just, when NVIDIA have their own tablets as well with their own chips in it too. They are quite impressive, and you can see them playing 360 games quite well. But also, their battery life is atrocious. You're playing anything that's not like a 2D simple game, and you've got maybe an hour with those tablets in my
You
playing.
don't have faith.
I want to believe. I want to believe I can play Skyrim on this thing for hours on end, portable, but I don't think that's going to happen.
I do really like how modular it is. We don't know much about the Joy-Cons and whether or not they're going to have motion control or if this device is going to have a touchscreen. We feel like maybe yes.
Maybe it would make sense to have a touchscreen in this day and age, right? I do like the idea that it seems to be quite simple just to sit down and play a game with a friend. I had a friend over on the weekend and we sat down and we just tried to play one game together, and signing into things and updating things and just controllers not connecting. We gave up. It shouldn't be like that,
Well, now with the Nintendo Switch you can, as long as you have really tiny hands.
Really tiny hands.
Well, we should get on with the show, and first up tonight, it's Bullets and Blades with Shadow Warrior 2.
Plus, we finally get to be the Bat in Batman Arkham VR.
Also, Goose has got a great story for us on the unique collaboration behind the indie game Snowflake Moon.
Came up as a mistake, we would rewrite it.
That's how the best works come about. You can't it's not smooth sailing the whole way.
No.
But let's get started. Can you name the game for this week? 2013's reboot of Shadow Warrior showed that there is sometimes a way to revitalize and modernize even the most politically incorrect shooters from the 90s. The sequel adds 4-player co-op and a lot of bloody fun. It's Wang time.
You got Wang.
Uzi time. Uzi is easy. Oh, dear. There's a lot going on, Hex.
So disgusting.
There we go.
Gross! You once again play as Lo Wang, a tough-talking, badass ninja warrior who likes to taunt his enemies and complain a lot.
Let you go? I'm afraid I can't do that, my dearest. It would spoil our grand experiment.
The story revolves around saving a scientist by the name of Kamiko.
Okay, so this is probably a terrible idea, but I'm sort of out of options here. I'm gonna untie you. When I do, please don't eat my face. I'm a friend, okay? Friend.
After being captured and injected with a strange serum, she becomes infused with some kind of demon. Unable to save her body from corruption, she's transferred inside the soul of Wang and becomes a supporting character of sorts.
Yeah, it's a cool idea. It's a way to give you someone to talk to, and especially funny because they hate each other.
Kamiko's soul has been temporarily placed in your care.
Are you serious?
Serious?
It's really rather miraculous.
The story takes a few turns here and there, including fighting a giant version of her demonic corpse. But really, this isn't about the story, it's about the gory. Hacking, slashing, and shooting enemies, leaping about and cracking wise is what Wang does best. And it never gets old, Hex.
Yeah, I mean, it's tacky, but it's also so fluid and fast-paced that you can't help but enjoy yourself. The gore is quite full-on, but it's cartoony enough, I think, to keep things tongue-in-cheek. Though it is especially intense when you're up in the thick of it with those melee weapons.
Yeah!
Eat this. Eat this. Blah, 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 blah,
Oh my
blah,
gosh,
blah,
I
blah,
just
blah,
saw
blah.
actual entrails.
Yeah, me too. Oh, he went it off.
So gross.
Yeah, and I love how weapons just carve up the enemies, and shotguns leave these giant holes in some of them.
Oh, I'm taking out some chunks. Look at that.
Oh, gross.
And it's particularly satisfying the way these enemies fall apart and explode around you.
Yeah, it's kind of gratifying, isn't it?
I got it.
And you really do feel the full flight of the ninja as you leap and zip about. The movement system lets you dash endlessly, combat roll from high falls, double jump, mantle, as well as working defensive dashes into the melee combat. It's intuitive and it just plays so well with the types of enemies you face.
Yeah, and 90s shooters were all about doing lots of strafing and avoiding missiles, so this kind of defensive dashing really feels like a nice evolution of that.
Yeah, and once again, the swordplay is just so good. We said this about the last game, it's really hard to get first-person swordplay right, but they've nailed it. There's variety in your melee weapons, including dual swords and chainsaws. I just think they've done such a great job of making this feel like a sword fighting game mixed with a shooter.
Yeah, also for this sequel, they've taken the Borderlands model and applied it, giving you 4-player co-op. Slashing demons with friends is heaps more fun, as multiple ninja dash about in a flurry of blood and bullets.
Nothing like it.
Plus, there are heaps of weapons to collect, 70 apparently, but it's the upgrades and endless weapon modifiers that keep you fiddling with gear and mucking about in your inventory for hours on end.
I also like that it's easy to see which enemies are immune or weak to certain weapon modifiers like fire or toxic damage.
You're not the ugliest thing I've killed today.
And of course, to complete the kill stuff to get stuff gameplay loop, once enemies go down, loads of stuff spews out for you to gather up. I think it's fair to say that this isn't as polished or sophisticated as something like Borderlands Bajo, but all the weapon reload management stuff is just so good.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's some nice touches too, like some of the reload animations.
Fresh ammo. Nothing like it.
Also, the mission design is more open now, with lots of side missions to keep you busy. I think playing on the harder difficulties is the most fun I had with this game, but it does cause you to run out of ammo fairly quickly, depending on how you've set up your build. But it only takes seconds to teleport back to base and restock all your ammo. And of course, you always have your swords.
Oh, it's die. Just die, Super Toro.
And can we talk about the humor, which I know is kind of what Shadow Warrior is famous for, but I'm really not a fan. I mean, yeah, puns are great, but so much of this just seemed juvenile and crass and just a bit dumb. Don't tell me you liked it. You did.
Of course I did, I love puns. I mean, sometimes it goes a little too far, but I'm a sucker for juvenile quips, and it's got that Deadpool charm to a lot of it.
Intimidation is the tool of the fearful heart.
Hey, it beats being the fool of the tearful thought.
That's deeply stupid.
But it's true.
Fair enough.
Get out of here! All the creature design is so creative, though, with some awesome variety.
I did enjoy just the mess of this kind of combat, though.
I just like the strategy of flattening enemies and then smashing them with damage as they try to get up.
And when you start upgrading and mixing in special powers, like this kind of force push, invisibility, and spikes from the ground, it's a delicious deluge of demon decimation. Final thoughts, Hex?
Well, this isn't a AAA blockbuster per se, but I've got to commend it for such excellent movement and controls. Plus, I think the combat is satisfying enough to keep you playing, so I'm going to give it 3 out of 5.
Yeah, except for the bugs I encountered, they've improved the last game in all the right ways. I'm giving it 3.5 stars.
What bunny?
I'll kill the bunny, you get free stuff.
Oh shit!
Unless it turns into the demon bunny.
It turned into the demon bunny.
Run, run!
That was bad advice! That was bad advice!
Hex, it's great to see how diverse the audience is becoming for games these days.
Yeah, but it's not just the audience, but the makers as well. Here's Goose with a story on a rare partnership forged in an art collective to develop a very unique game.
Hi, I'm Skye, and I am an artist. I work with Studio A. I do lots of different things: drawing, writing, prop making, and mask creating. For the past 9 months, I've been making Snowflake Moon, a Paperville Mystery, my very first computer game. It all started with me looking up at the moon at night, simply because I could not sleep. I thought I saw a snowflake in the moon, and it gave me an idea.
Since December 2015, artists Skye Saxon and Elias Nohra have been working together on a point-and-click adventure game, showcasing Skye's unique art and vision of the world, and supported by Studio A, a remarkable art studio situated in northern Sydney.
Studio A is known as a supported studio, and what we do is provide professional development to artists with intellectual disability. We work with about 13 artists with intellectual disability directly, and we give them all sorts of supports in order that their great art can get out into the world and get seen. So that means that we link them with professional artists, artists that basically don't have a disability, but that might have an aligned practice to what Studio A artists have. So we support the artists to make the work, develop their work, to do all the kind of professional things that you need to do to be an artist. So to have a CV, to get your work out into art competitions, galleries, the right kinds of platforms, to meet the right kind of people and progress your career forward. Skye is really one of our inspirations for starting Studio A, a really dedicated, hard-working artist. We were looking for an opportunity for some of our artists to extend and experiment into a digital art form, and Elias is a very skilled digital storyteller, so we invited Elias to come and work with us. Skye comes to me with a concept about wanting to create a video game out of a series of characters that she'd created. So I spoke to Elias and said, would you be interested in working with Skye and embarking on a bit of an adventure together?
Elias, can you tell me a bit of your history as an artist and as a mentor as well?
Sure, yeah. I've got a background more in filmmaking and digital art, and installations and things like that. But I've also got a background in community arts and facilitating community stories and helping underrepresented communities tell their stories. And I mentioned to Studio A, to Gab, that I'd started coding, I'd started doing a bit of development. She, let me know one day, hey, Skye's got a game. She wants to make a game. And I'd known Skye's art previously, and she used to make, and still does, make these great characters called like Skye Fox.
Yeah.
And they're like these fox characters in the woods. And I thought, awesome, like already in my head, it's a side-scrolling shooter where, the fox is flying through the air and attacking the monsters that she creates. And then we sat down and she showed me the work. I'm like, whoa, this is different. This is like this, you've created this whole world with all these really different characters. It's not what I expected at all. We just started experimenting and seeing what the game could be. And it just kind of gradually evolved into a point-and-click adventure game. It felt like the best way to tell the story with the elements that Skye had kind of created. A lot of the rewarding elements of the game will come from is actually exploring each location, because there's lots of little details that we've hidden in the artwork, and the artwork is so distinct, it's so unique. Skye once described it as being like what a kid sees in reality.
I've been a video game fan ever since I was a kid and used to watch my brothers play Nintendo. For me, over the years, the video game characters became like family and friends in the virtual world. I felt like I could communicate with them because what I did and said changed what happened to them. So I wanted to make one of these games myself and make characters that could be family and friends for other people. And that's where I got the idea from. Snowflake Moon is a mystery game where you control a bumbling detective named Frankus. To solve the mystery, you must explore the factual world of Paperville and meet all the weird and wonderful people who live there.
So you've done art for a long time now. How did you first get started as an artist?
I first started doing artworks since I was a little kid. Me and my twin sister, Crystal, were, well, we wouldn't say stuck in hospital, but we spent a lot of time in hospital, and they were finding ways to amuse ourselves. So drawing and pictures and scribbling out words was how it all started.
Do you guys ever find it difficult? Are there any challenges making the game, or were there any challenges making it?
The relationship with Elias is a lot of fun, but yeah, there was a few challenges, but we managed to fix it up. Came up with a mistake, we would rewrite it.
That's how the best works come about. You can't just, it's not smooth sailing the whole way.
Skye's really got no filter on her creativity, and I think that's the core of it.
Yeah.
She'll always come out with the most insane ideas, and you're like, all right, I'm not sure if that's going to work, but let's try to make it work. I mean, as a game developer myself, I'll start projects and never finish them.
Yeah.
And it's just that kind of, working on your own is kind of hard to motivate. Working with Skye's amazing because it's like my mission is to get her vision completed and to get it expressed in a way that a really broad audience can experience it. So it's totally liberating, and it's really inspiring because she's a never-ending source of ideas.
What do you want people to get when they play the game? What kind of feelings do you want them to have when they're actually experiencing the game?
To have fun, to really laugh, get some ideas flowing, get their creative juices, really,
Definitely, coming up with their own game ideas.
I hope we keep making more games, and hopefully Skye and Elias's project, the Snowflake Moon, will actually plant seeds in other artists' minds about what can be made and what's possible.
Something you mentioned in the talk was, representing diversity, and something that obviously doesn't get touched on a lot is people with a disability. How important do you think that is looking into the future of game development?
Look, I think it's really important. I think that content creators should be more representative of society, broadly. So I think it's really important to be able to have those experiences available to, everyone. Somebody with a disability is going to have a really different life experience and a really different view of the world. Yeah. And it's one that I think we can't fully appreciate without having art made by those people.
And then is the idea that you're going to make another one? Have we got a sequel ready to go, or is this just focusing on one game for now?
Right now I'm just focusing on Snowflake Moon, a Paperville Mystery. But I am thinking of doing something maybe like a tryst to Snowflake Moon.
Right, so this is just a prequel, and there'll be a twist and a whole nother game based on that.
Yeah.
You're taking everyone for a ride.
What a wonderful story. And you'll be able to play Skye's finished game really soon. Just keep an eye on snowflakemoon.com.
Now, Hex, the highlight of E3 for me this year was definitely the 3 minutes of Batman VR I got to play. And now the full experience is here on PlayStation VR.
Yes, and spoiler warning, this will be a spoiler-filled review. We're not going to reveal the ending, of course, but it is a short experience, so we're going to be showing you a lot of it.
The game begins like this.
Come on, Brucey, look at me. It's nothing to be ashamed of.
Oh no. Of course this is gonna happen. I don't know if I'm ready for this.
Anything you want.
Hang on to those pearls, lady!
Cash, jewelry. Hand it over.
Stay behind me, Bruce.
It's a scene we've seen hundreds of times in comics, movies, TV shows, and games, and yet in VR, it's 100 times more powerful.
Yeah, VR makes you feel really present in the game world. And you're right, we've seen that scene so many times before, but it was all the more gut-wrenching here because you feel like you're actually in the scene and yet you're powerless to stop anything from happening. It's just, oh.
Gut-wrenching.
Yeah.
You see that, kid? That's what happens when you try to be a hero.
After that dramatic introduction, you're taken forward in time to be Bruce in Wayne Manor, and you meet Alfred. Hello. Oh, thanks for the key.
Very good.
Cheers.
I'll see you downstairs.
Have you met my dead parents? Alfred!
After a bit of mucking about, you descend down into the Batcave to become the Bat. Gloves on. Cowl on. Grapple. Batarangs.
Please use a battle to hit the target.
That's cool.
And a scanner for science.
Operating diagnostics.
Science!
Please scan target.
I just love how this game lets you get suited up. And it was kind of weird looking in the mirror and, like, not just being a dude, but being Batman. Whoa, I got heaps buff. Her. Yeah. Nice. This is Vogue.
Calibration complete.
Okay.
Yeah, that was awesome. I had so much fun just mucking about as Batman and playing with the gadgets. Time, grapple. Go. I'm not finished with my piano lesson. Take me back. I have to master the chopsticks. And the game hadn't even started yet.
Yeah, I mean, if I were to, criticize this VR experience, I would say that, delivering any important information to you early on is just a mistake, because all you want to do is just throw stuff around and have fun and shoot your grapple hook at things. I'm getting pretty good at this batarang thing. Sorry. I keep hitting the microphone.
And it's so intuitive, just grabbing batarangs and throwing them. I had so much fun. But I would recommend playing this game standing up. You can sit down to play it, but it's just much easier to grab the gadgets if you're standing. Alfred, think quick. This is why you're a butler, Alfred.
From here, the story properly begins. Robin is missing and Nightwing isn't responding to your messages.
Nightwing is in central Gotham, but why isn't he responding?
And you soon discover why.
Beaten to death. Why wasn't I here? Why didn't I stop it?
Hex, as a big Bats fan, this was brutal and legitimately painful to watch. The death of an old friend?
Yeah, and that's just amplified by the fact that Batman needs to reconstruct the crime scene first and worry about grieving later. There's a fair bit of detective work from this point on as the game turns into a murder mystery. You'll be interrogating Cobblepot, scanning for clues in the morgue.
I've examined the bone layer. I should check for shrapnel in the muscle layer.
And when you finally find Robin escaping from a trap.
Come on, we need to get out of here.
I really enjoyed all the morgue stuff, using the move controller to interact with things and pull things open. It all just worked really well.
Yeah, I loved rebuilding that detonator in 3D space. Just grabbing the bits and moving them and putting them together. Oh, it was magical. I felt like a Jedi.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it doesn't look that impressive on TV because it's just a simple puzzle, but when you're there actually holding the items in your hands, it feels quite surreal, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Oh, yes. I think the other big highlight for me was helping Robin escape that trap. And once again, just seeing another character there, with all that detail in VR, and a character that and then handing them things, felt like I was meeting a famous person. Here's a cog, buddy. There you go.
Great. We're getting out of here.
Yeah, cool. Again, it's a bit hard to describe how cool this is, but it's kind of a new type of gaming experience. It's shooting off all these things in my brain, Hex.
Yeah, and I like that there's a lot of hidden secrets and Easter eggs hidden around the place if you take the time to look around. I will say, though, that there were a few clunky transitions between scenes when it just fades to black. You don't get to sit in any of the vehicles or push buttons, and that was kind of disappointing.
Yeah, that was a real shame.
Have you found him?
But I do like that you're stationary for this, and I think the teleporting around and grappling around really works well. And it sounds lame, just pressing a button to teleport around a game, but it's actually fine. And by removing the player movement, it totally solves that motion sickness problem that a lot of VR games have. This is spew bucket-free gaming, Hex.
It is, not a spew bucket in sight. And it's a genuinely fun VR experience. Although I did think it ended a little bit abruptly. When those credits rolled, I was like, what? No, I want more. What did you think?
Well, I do think that ending was maybe a little bit too clever for its own good, just a bit too surreal, and I wanted something a bit more definite. But overall, this was a really impactful experience. And I had so much fun just mucking about and being silly as Batman. But when that story took hold, I was totally engrossed.
A full handprint. The witness was Jackie Flynn.
So, for a time, Hex, this game managed to quell the troll that lives inside me.
I don't believe it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you do really feel like you're in this story, and I hope we do get more puzzle/narrative experiences in VR, because this proves that it can be done so well.
Me too. I'm already overshooting zombies in VR. I don't want any more of that. This is only about an hour and a half long, extended a little with the Riddler challenges if you do those, but that length was totally fine. And this is my favorite VR experience to date. I'm giving it 4 stars.
I'm gonna give it 3.
Why are you picking your nose, Batman? Why are you picking your nose?
Now, we did try reviewing another PlayStation VR game this week called Here They Lie.
Yes, and it has some talented people behind it. Corey Davis, the designer on Spec Ops: The Line, and Toby Gard, who is considered to be the father of Lara Croft.
But we don't have a review for this one, do we?
Oh no, I can't do any more. It's too sickening. Yes, this totally wrecked us. This is the first PSVR game that made me feel horrendously ill within seconds, to the point where it was completely unplayable for me.
Yeah, now I would consider myself as a person that has somewhat of an iron stomach when it comes to motion sickness, but even I struggled a little bit with this. The game itself is set in a kind of post-apocalyptic dreamscape where you have to discover what happened and you have a woman leading you through. But it's kind of counterintuitive because as you move through the space, it's kind of encouraging you to explore, but you don't want to explore because it means turning more corners and going through more of a labyrinth, and you just start to feel, it's a little bit like reading in the car. You can get through a certain point and you feel fine, and then all of a sudden you feel really bad, and then even after you've stopped, you feel bad for ages.
Yeah, all day. I feel sick all day from games like this.
Yeah. Okay. I'm just gonna take a small breather. I even had like a fan to get regular airflow and I took regular breaks, but it didn't help. I couldn't finish it.
Well, what I did see of the game looked quite interesting. They're going for a sort of spooky walk 'em up with an unfolding narrative.
You realize that all you can remember is the bag and dragging it behind you forever and ever and ever. Well, that's dark.
Lots of jump scares, that kind of thing. I think, from the few seconds I was able to play, this isn't creepy at all. Hey, Pigman. Nice to meet you, Pigman. But what I think this really does point out is the difference between a stationary game like Batman, where it works really well and you don't get sick, and then a game like this where they give you player movement, which has that possibility of just totally messing with your mind.
Yeah, it's worth reminding for sure. And I'd suggest just, trying out a bunch of game demos for at least 15 minutes to figure out whether it's going to be something that makes you feel sick, and then you'll know, if it's going to be a problem for you.
Yeah, or maybe try it out in a store, although that is a bit like using a public toilet.
Oh, like some disinfectant wipes would be fine.
You can't get rid of it all.
You know what they should do? You know how you can, in some public toilets, you can, pull off a little tissue, toilet paper...
Oh, that's the dream.
Thing that goes over the toilet seat?
Yeah.
They need one of those for VR, like a little paper mask, and then you put the mask on, germ-free.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah.
Patented.
Yeah.
No one steal it. Doors and windows shutting by themselves. So, did you name the game for this week? It was Hard Reset on PC from 2011. This cyberpunk-themed shooter channeled old-school level design and twitch mechanics for a simple but exciting first-person romp. And it was our Name the Game because it was developed by Polish team Flying Wild Hog, the same studio behind this week's Shadow Warrior 2.
Next week on the show, we head back to the trenches for our full review of Battlefield 1. Do-do-do-do-do-do. Keep it going, Hex.
Do-do-do-do-do-do. I'm not very good at it.
You're awful. Also, don't forget, over on ABC Me, our show Good Games Spawn Point for younger gamers takes a look at Dragon Quest Builders.
A heady concoction of Minecraft and fantasy RPGs.
And it's really good. Until next week, Bajo out.
Hex out. Oh, and we just want to say thank you to Luke, aka Comic88, who sent in this awesome art of us as Disney Infinity characters.
Yeah, thanks so much. You did amazing work. Plus, my stomach isn't that flat, but thank you for the compliment.
Look at my hair. I look amazing.
Gonna put that one on the fridge. Thank you.